You know, I'm gonna be honest. This one was a bit of a doozy to write, because as often as I had ideas that I thought were good and helpful, I immediately could think of reasonable reasons that those ideas were neither good nor helpful. Every time I saw something online that I thought I agreed with, I would check the replies and there would be a bunch of them from other people saying things that were contrary that I also realized I agreed with, which of course left me second guessing myself because I have the self-esteem of a depressed goldfish. But the point of this channel has never been to be right about everything or to claim that I'm right about everything. It's been to facilitate discussions that acknowledge the nuance that it seems like everything has nowadays. Because the world is complicated and yeah, there's no second part to that. The world's just complicated. Alright, so Andrew Tate got banned, and while I feel like he doesn't need much introduction given that he was more searched than Mr. Beast at one point, I'm going to touch on all the really important parts about who he is so that you have context going into this video and everything I talk about. Andrew Tate is a human disease. He's a disease that affects primarily young teenage males and tries to persuade them that women are lesser than they are, and in order to have any self-worth, they need to be a big alpha man. He essentially promotes kind of any idea that you might associate with inceldom for the sole purpose of getting hate clicks online and using that to scale up into a huge business that now makes millions of dollars per year. And then he uses that attention to leverage it into this kind of multi-level marketing scheme thing he's got going with affiliate links that lead to his course. And that's basically who he is as a person, someone who spouts controversial things and then tries to make money off of it. It's a tried and true business method, but that doesn't make him any less of a scumbag for doing it. And if you want specifics about what he said, there's a lot of good videos on the topic, but suffice to say he is a toxic, raging misogynist, and that's all you really need to know for this video. And given that he is a toxic, raging misogynist, it makes sense that he would be banned from most social media platforms, which have policies and rules in place against things like being toxic and misogynistic. And given that that's about 90% of what he says, it's not that surprising he was banned. The surprising part is, I don't think it's actually going to do as much as people seem to think it's going to do. Not that it won't do nothing at all. It'll definitely prevent people from accidentally stumbling across his channel. And maybe that not happening was exactly what they needed in order to avoid falling into this echo chamber of inceldom. But I don't think it's going to do that much to suppress him or his ideas. And this is for several reasons, each of which I'll go to in great detail. Firstly, this does give him ammunition to claim censorship. Secondly, Andrew Tate is not actually directly responsible for most of his success. And thirdly, I think it gives a false sense of victory when someone like this is deplatformed, and I'll go more into that in that section. Often when a prominent figure gets banned off of social media, we see a huge rise in that figure's followers claiming censorship. And this outcry of censorship in turn creates more publicity for them. And it's worth noting that deplatforming someone really just pushes that person and the issues they bring from one social media platform over onto another and letting it be their problem. Some examples of this would be Alex Jones or Donald Trump. And I'm not pushing any kind of a political agenda here. They're just two of the more prominent examples that I could think of on the spot. Both of these people were deplatformed, and then both of them used the publicity and the outcry from their followers to create something bigger that probably would not have been possible had they not been deplatformed. In Alex Jones's case, it was his InfoWars empire, which of course existed before he was deplatformed, but once he was, that's really when it blew up. See, his followers really believed that big media was trying to shut him down, and so they flocked to his new website to support him against the tyrannical government or the police deep state or whoever's making the frogs gay these days. At an extreme level, deplatforming someone like this gives this sort of twisted sense of validation to the people that were supporting them. If you're spewing garbage about conspiracy theories, then you getting silenced and kicked off a platform makes them think, oh, he was telling the truth, and that's why he was kicked out, and not because he was essentially just a raving lunatic. That happening is basically the best thing for your career at that point. I mean, clearly you were right, or they would have never kicked you off, he said, knowing that that line of thinking is pure delusion. Now, there's probably a lot of you right now that are annoyed at me because it seems like I'm advocating for Andrew Tate not to be deplatformed, which would be an absolutely horrible thing for me to do considering he has done all of these things. But that's not the case. I'm advocating for him to have been shut down years ago, before he was ever allowed to get this big. Doing it now is just insane, because he's already reached critical mass. He has an online course with almost 100,000 students paying him $50 a month to be there. This is the equivalent of putting out a campfire after it's already burned down thousands of acres of forest. Like, sure, it's not bad that you put out the campfire, but doing it now after it's gotten so wildly out of control and caused so much damage, and then expecting that to actually do anything about the problem is really just naive thinking. You should have put out the campfire earlier, before it was allowed to grow way out of control and cause so much carnage to the forest. And now, frankly, it's too late for the putting out the campfire solution, and we need a better one. And I'll be the first to say, I don't know what a better solution would be, but using an expired solution like banning him so you can save face and claim your platform is against such things, that's just stupid. It's literally just showmanship with no results. And this entire issue was made even worse when you realize that Andrew Tate's success wasn't even exactly his own. It was all manufactured by his followers and supporters. The first time I heard about Andrew Tate, it was in a Danny Gonzalez video. He clowned on him, made fun of him, it was a great time, and then I promptly forgot that he ever existed. The next time I heard about Andrew Tate was from a TikTok, which was commenting on how something he said on a podcast was misogynistic. I watched the TikTok and actually didn't even realize it was the same guy from the Danny video, but I had a grand old time, and then I promptly forgot about it. It was only the third time that I heard about him that it all clicked. It was a clip posted by one of his followers who had an affiliate link to his course in their bio. And once I saw that, I was able to connect the other two instances. And around that same time, everyone else was noticing him too, and videos of people making fun of him and videos of him posted by his followers were suddenly everywhere. And almost none of these were videos that Andrew Tate himself had posted. See, when you sign up to Andrew Tate's course, there's a bunch of different ways that it offers to try and help you make money online. And one of those is called affiliate marketing. For this class, you're given affiliate links to sell his course, and you're encouraged to post clips of things he says across all sorts of social media, including TikTok, Instagram Reels, and YouTube Shorts. The idea is to post the most controversial things you can find that he says so that you'll get all the angry comments and then all the other benefits that come with rage baiting. However, if out of the 100,000 people that absolutely hate a video, there's just a fraction of a percent that find it good or funny or useful or for some reason agree with it, that is hundreds of dollars in Andrew Tate's pocket and a decent chunk of change for whoever had the affiliate link in their bio. That is to say, a huge amount of Andrew Tate's success is thanks to just a bunch of random people on the internet looking to make a quick buck. And in that entire scenario of people taking clips and posting them to try and get people into the courses who will then take the courses and take the clips and post them, Andrew Tate essentially does not exist. His only job is to say things that are controversial, and then he lets his followers take the clips and spam them everywhere, making him tons of money. If Andrew Tate's account is banned, what's changed? It's not like his account was the one really posting a lot of this stuff anyway. So without his account, his followers are still going to be spamming his clips everywhere and trying to make money off of them. So Andrew Tate's account specifically not being in the picture anymore doesn't really actually solve anything at all, since Andrew Tate's accounts aren't the ones doing the work. He set the system up to run itself, where people post clips, people join because of the clips, then more people who have joined see the course and the affiliate links that they can put in their bio and get money off of, and so they start posting the clips, and the cycle continues. But even on top of that, I'm worried that this win will give people kind of a false sense of long-term victory. Let's be clear here. Andrew Tate isn't gone. He's merely gone from several mainstream social media sites. And while that's definitely probably going to have some kind of impact on his revenue and his profits, it's not going to make him disappear entirely. Rather, it's going to relegate him to echo chambers where there isn't anyone else to call him out on his. See, with a lot of conspiracy theorists, a pretty consistent theme is an echo chamber. It could be a political one, like QAnon, or it could be a more extreme one, like the moon landing being fake, or it could be a wildly disgusting and racist one, like the Great Replacement Theory. People who believe this tend to believe only a little bit at first, and then they dip their proverbial toes into it. So they join, say, a 4chan group or a Discord server. And suddenly, they're surrounded by people who strongly believe this is true. And everything those people are saying is pointing towards this conspiracy theory. There's no longer a voice of reason, or really any other voices at all, that can point at that conspiracy theory and say, hey, that's really stupid. When it feels like everyone around you believes something, it's really easy to get drawn into that. I actually had a friend who believed that the moon landing was fake, and it wasn't because he was dumb or incapable, it's because no other side was ever presented to him. And while I do think it's a little silly that he thought that, if everyone is saying that one thing is true, it's so hard to be the person to try and break out of that and go against the grain. If Andrew Tate gets banned from mainstream social medias, then that relegates him to these darker, less moderated corners of the internet, where there's no longer anyone there to call him out when he says something insane like, women are property. And while I do think that a big part of his rise to fame was everybody making fun of him, once he had blown up and he was big, I think it's really important that people with influence, specifically influence over younger teen males, constantly call him out and contradict him on all the insane things that he says. That way people who might be slipping into that line of thinking are able to see another counterpoint presented right afterwards that maybe helps them stay away from that. Now if someone's slipping into that line of thinking and so they join the aforementioned 4chan group or aforementioned Discord server, then there's nobody there to kind of pull them away from that edge and tell them that, gosh, maybe believing that women are property isn't such a good thing after all. And maybe they can be equal to men. And that's really okay. And even on top of all of that I just said, an absence of a bad influence is not the same as a good influence. Just because Andrew Tate specifically isn't spreading his sick gospel anymore doesn't mean that there isn't someone else who's money hungry and immediately willing to jump in to try and fill that gap. It's not a victory now that he's gone. It's just no longer a defeat that social platforms were allowing him to stick around and grow. The victory comes when we, and that means anybody who is friends with anyone at all, talk to the people around us and check in on them and make sure they aren't feeling alone or abandoned or hated or falling into any other number of dangerous trains of thought that might lead them down a dark path. We actually win when this line of thinking is universally dismissed without a second thought. A war isn't over when you kill a general. It certainly helps, but a war only ends when you defeat the enemy. And the enemy here isn't specifically Andrew Tate. It's what he represents. It's misogyny. It's discrimination. It's failure to tolerate people that aren't like you. And that is the enemy that we need to be fighting. But as always, love yourselves and everyone around you, and I'll catch you all next video.